This is one of my favorite forests in Israel. I usually come here either to ride my bike or have a picnic with friends, but 5 days ago this beautiful forest was almost completely destroyed in one of the largest wildfires Israel had ever experienced. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time. Almost every year, there are fires in Israel's forests. Most are brought under control relatively quickly, but every few years, one spirals out of control, creating enormous damage. In 2010, a massive fire was on Mount Carmel, reaching buildings in Haifa and causing 44 casualties. In 2016, wildfires burned homes in both the Carmel and the Judean Hills. In 2021, fire raged through the Jerusalem mountains, and now in 2025, this fire burned around 20,000 dunams, which are about 5,000 acres. Those wildfires usually happen in the peak of summer, when the ground is dry, the air is hot, and strong winds fan the flames, making them spread incredibly fast. But there is more to the story. The vast majority of the forests where these wildfires happen are not natural. They were planted over the last 115 years. To understand why, let's take a quick step back in history. During the Ottoman era, from 1516 to 1917, there were no nature preservation laws. It was a kind of a Wild West approach. If you wanted to cut down a tree, you simply did. The most famous case of deforestation was during the building of the Hijazi railway system, stretching over 800 miles. This railway consumed vast amounts of timber, especially from the great oak forest around the Jezreel Valley. These trees take about 50 years to reach maturity, and when they were cut down, the forest was lost basically forever. This sets the scene for what travelers saw at the time. Mark Twain visited in 1867, and this is what he wrote. A desolate country whose soil is rich enough but is given over wholly to weeds. A silent, mournful expanse. We never saw a human being on the whole route. There was hardly a tree or shrub anywhere. Even the olive and the cactus, those fast friends of the worthless soil, had almost deserted the country. And also, of all the lands there are for dismal scenery, I think Palestine must be the prince. The hills are barren, they are dull of color, they are unpicturesque in shape. In 1917, the British took control and shortly after introduced the first nature preservation laws. From that moment on, you couldn't cut down a tree without permission. They also created the Palestine Forestry Department, or the PFD, and began planting new forests. What kind of trees did they choose? Pines, lots of pines. As stated in their 1935 report, the Aleppo pine is recognized as a principal tree for afforestation of Palestine, particularly in eroded hillsides where rapid cover is required. But it wasn't only the British planting trees. The Zionist movement also made forestation priority. Back in 1897, the first Zionist Congress was held in Basel. And from the beginning it was clear that conventions and nice words alone wouldn't establish a Jewish homeland. So, in 1901, the Jewish National Fund, or the JNF, was established with a mission to purchase, redeem, and cultivate land in Palestine, the land of Israel, for the Jewish people. Jews around the world started donating money, often in small blue boxes, which became the JNF's iconic symbol, to buy and develop land. The man leading many of these land deals was Yoshua Henkin. Along with his wife, Olga, who was fluent in Arabic, they were a power couple that knew how to negotiate, understand the political sensitivities, and most importantly, seal deals. In his lifetime, he and Olga bought around 600,000 dunams, about 150,000 acres. The most famous deal that they closed was the purchase of the Jezreel Valley from the Sursuk family of Beirut. Once the JNF acquired land, it focused heavily on planting forests, again, mainly pines. Why pines? For a few reasons. The pine is very durable. It can grow on rocky areas with little soil. It needs relatively little water and can survive well in the long dry summer with minimal care. It grows relatively quickly. A Jerusalem pine takes about 20 years to reach its full maturity. And so, Israel became covered with pine forests, before the establishment of the state and long after. Every year, in Tu B'Shvat, it became customary to plant trees, and for decades the pine was the most popular choice. By now, It estimated that out of the 240 million trees that the JNF has planted, about 190 million are pines. But not everything was perfect with the pine forest. Over time, it became clear that pine needles takes about 7 years to decompose. They create a thick blanket on the ground, making it difficult for other species to grow nearby. The needles also create acidic soil, which further hinders biodiversity. And so came the famous saying from the 1980s, the pine deserts, referring to the poor diversity of plants around the pine forests. But the main problem this video is about is wildfires. So how is the pine related to it? There are a few reasons that make the pine forests a wildfire ticking bomb. The pine needles contain a lot of sap, which makes them decompose slowly, creating a huge amount of burnable material. The sap also makes them more flammable and able to burn for longer. The trees burn intensely, creating a chimney of hot air going upwards. This hot air can lift burning branches that on windy days jump and ignite new trees. The pine cones explode when they burn. They're meant to spread seeds, but they also spread fire. So on a day with strong winds, the fire can spread at speeds of up to 20 miles per hour. That's how in 2010, a bus that went into the Carmel fire zone to evacuate inmates from the Damon prison was caught by surprise, tragically killing workers of the prison authority. So now that we understand the history, problems and drawbacks of the pine forests, what is being done to change it? Since the 1990s, pine planting was significantly reduced. In the last 20 years, it has been completely stopped. Instead, new forests are planted with native species, oaks, olives, carobs, and others. In older pine forests, there is an intentional cutting of some of the pines to create gaps in between them, where other species are planted to diverse the forest. This is a huge project. Nearly 70% of the forests in Israel are pine forests, and it will take many years to complete the transition. But in the end, we will have more diverse and fire-resistant forests. The call to make this land flourish with plants and agriculture starts in the Bible. In the book of Isaiah, for example, it is said, "I will put in the wilderness the cedar, the acacia, the myrtle, and the olive. I will set in the desert the cypress, the plane, and the pine together. That they will see and know, may consider and understand together, that the hand of the Lord has done this. The Holy One of Israel has created it. They will make gardens and eat their fruit." And in the book of Amos, it is said, "I will bring back the captives of my people Israel. They will rebuild the ruined cities and live in them. They will plant vineyards and drink their wine. They will make gardens and eat their fruit. I will plant them on their land, and they will never again be uprooted." I am Itay. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more, and have a beautiful day.